Okay, we're going to give our top stretches for improving your running. Okay, we're going to give the top ones. It's not every one that you'll ever see out there as far as running stretches, but we're going to give you some of my top ones. And it's a little guidance as far as how long you should stretch and how often. For the sake of today, we're going to do passive stretches, which means static stretches. Stretches that you're going to hold 3 times for 30 seconds for each of the stretches that I go through here. You want to have a good sustained hold. You don't want to have a lot of pain, but you want to have pressure in the various areas to stretch that muscle group or that area. And oftentimes we talk about muscle groups, but we also stretch other structures, tendon units, ligamentous structures. We talk about the fascia, which we don't talk about a lot. Those are the things we're going to stretch as we stretch these structures. But these stretches are typically done 5 or 10 minutes after a warm-up. If you're about to do a run, I like to do these stretches at the end of the run. I like to have you do a dynamic warm-up before these what they call before you do passive stretches. Passive stretches I kind of like to do at the end of the activity, and they find that if you do the passive stretches and holding for 30 seconds, and really kind of it creates a little bit of trauma, and people don't perform as well. They're just not as fast. They can't jump as far, and it affects it. So we're talking about only passive or static stretches here, and try and do it at the end of your workout. You should be doing dynamic stretches before your workout, and that'll kind of get you warmed up. So best case scenario, 5 or 10 minutes, a nice little walk, get on the bicycle if you have access to one, and then go over these stretches, okay? So the first stretch I'm going to show you is not a common stretch, but it's one of the stretches. If you have any kind of loss of motion, you'll see. If your knee is bent at all and you've got a little loss of straightening, you want to get that full extension. You want that knee to be straight, but almost a little bit straighter, almost like bowing a little bit here. You'll see people that are coming from surgery and such, they have a little bit of bent knee, and you really want to address that if you're a runner, okay? And you'll see this for people that have had surgery that never quite got their motion. This is really important to be able to address this. So the way I like to do it is in standing, and I'll come across like this. I'll lean over. You can do it against the wall or against the table, so you got some weight through your leg. Let's say this is the leg that's not straight. We're essentially going to tighten our leg, and we're going to push back into the leg like that to get good pressure, and then you want to release it. So pressure down and release. You can hold it up to 30 seconds like we talked about. After 30, you're going to release it. All right? You don't have to bend it all the way to here, all the way back there. So that's my knee extension stretch. It's probably the most important if you have a little loss of motion. It doesn't look like a lot, but definitely just a little loss of that straight in the knee really can wreak havoc for anyone that does a sport. All right, the next one we're going to do is a standing calf stretch. This is the side that's being stretched. You want to keep your knee straight. You want to feel the pressure right about here. You're going to hold forward, sit up nice and tall. You can also do it in freestanding like this. All right. Good pressure. You're going to hold it. Remember, 3 times for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, you can rock back, slacken the muscles, see how it feels, and then go back again. Another 30 seconds. 3 times. Make sure you do it on both sides. Okay. The other stretch we can talk about is a hamstring stretch, or actually we'll do the hip flexor stretch first. The hip flexor stretch, we're trying to stretch the muscles in the front here. If these muscles are tight, they'll tend to kind of pull you forward, and if you're running, leaning forward, it's going to stretch your back and such. So, and they also get tight because we sit a lot. Unfortunately, we're not standing as much, where a lot of our people are at computers all day. So these muscles, after sitting in kind of a forward position, they get very tight. So they're one of the most important muscle groups to stretch, probably just in general. So if we're stretching this side, we're going to put our hands on our hips. This is one of the versions you can do. And you're going to rock forward, and you're going to hold that feeling for 30 seconds. I like to tuck the abdominals in a little bit, so you're not arching your back a lot, which you can't see from this side. But good pressure in the front there, and then you release the pressure back. Okay? So hold it for 30 seconds. And if it hurts too much, just back off. You should have good pressure here, but it shouldn't be sharp, painfully sharp pains or anything like that. And then rock back. Okay? And you want to switch, but try and do one side 3 times for 30, and then move to the opposite side. Okay? But this is your stretch side. One way to enhance the stretch is to put your arms overhead and lean forward like this, or rotate away from the stretch side. So over like that. 3 times for 30 seconds. Okay, another common stretch I like to give out. That was the hip flexor. We did the calf stretch. The other one we're going to do is a hamstring stretch. We're going to take our stretch belt right here. You can do this with like a long bath towel if you want. You can lean back, places around your foot, You can put this knee up like this if you want. Too stressful on your back. I normally have people bend their knee. You can straighten it out. You want to pull back until you feel steady pressure in the back here. And I like to vary the position, so you're crossing here a little bit, holding for 30 seconds. Try to relax your head. Sometimes you can strain your neck by doing this. Out like that. 3 times for 30 seconds. That's the minimum. And it's the hardest thing is to remember that 30 seconds is the key amount of time for the stretch to be felt. Okay? That's about it. You can bend your knee a little bit in the stretch, and you'll still get a form of a hamstring stretch. I like to keep it reasonably straight. Start getting any numbness or tingling, you might be stretching the sciatic nerve a little bit too much. You may want to back off on that stretch. Don't reproduce that, especially if you have a history of back problems. You have to be a little careful with this stretch. Okay? All right. The next stretch you can do if you're off of like a bed and such, you can take this, loop it around your foot, place it back like that, and you kind of stretch the front of your thigh. Hold it like this, and out. Like I said, bend your knee if it bothers your back at all, like so. Another version of this quad stretch is to lie in your stomach and pull your knee into flexion. This one isn't as effective as the first one I showed you. All right, those are my stretches. I hope it helps you out. Our runners, it's great to do that. Remember, try and do that at the end of the run after you've been warmed up. Dynamic stretches, we did another video where you do active movement and then you go into your run. Okay, hope that helps you out. Remember, the key is 3 times for 30 seconds on each side. Best of luck with your run.